the world leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. In the Berkshire Hills of northwestern Connecticut lies Lime Rock Park, home of the Barber Saab Pro Series and site of round 4 in that series for 1991. Hello once again, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha. This is, in fact, the home of the Barber Saab Pro Series, founded by track owner Skip Barber to provide racing opportunities at controlled cost using identically prepared machinery. Now, thus far in 1991, the series itself has been controlled by young Englishman Johnny Robinson. In 3 races, he has been the only winner this year. With me to call the action, ESPN road racing analyst David Hobbs. David, young Robinson is really doing well.
Well, he certainly is. We've seen another winner this year, Ayrton Senna, win 4 out of 4 Grand Prix. And I'm sure that Johnny Robinson's got his sights set on Grand Prix or IndyCar racing. This is a tough professional series. Only 2 seconds cover the entire field, and we've got some very experienced drivers buried in midfield. Ian Astley and Ross Huckenhull, also from England, 2 extremely competent and professional drivers. It's going to be a tough afternoon for these guys, and Robinson's going to want to extend that winning streak to 4. Down on the grid is another very young and up-and-coming young driver, Jan Beekes.
Young Englishman Johnny Robinson sits on the pole. Johnny, your countryman David Hobbs has compared you to Ayrton Senna. Do you think you can win your 4th here today?
Well, I hope so. We've been watching that pretty closely, and Ayrton winning his 4th race in Monaco. I'm hoping that we can do the same here. We're going to try as best as possible. The car's been running well in qualifying, and hopefully if the start goes well, we'll be able to stay in the lead and hopefully still be there when the checkered flag comes out.
Well, we certainly wish you the best of luck. And for a more in-depth look at Lime Rock, let's go to David Hobbs.
At 1.54 miles, it's short. 7 turns, 5 of them right-handers, so it's a bit of a neck stretcher and quite a bit of elevation change. Turn 1, or Big Bend, as you can see, is a long 180-degree corner. Got to get this one right, as it leads you almost straight away into the S's, the first part of which, turn 2, is the only real left-hand corner here. And you want to make a very good job of turn 3 as it leads onto No Name Straight, and you just might be able to squeak past somebody going into the rising turn and the chicane, which is the slowest corner here, 2nd gear for most cars. Make a good job of leaving the chicane because you pick up speed all the way through the next corners and you come to turn 7, which is the diving turn, the bottom of which equals the apex. Cars bottoming out here, but you want to make a good job here onto the main straight because really the only chance of passing here is into Big Bend or turn 1.
19 identically prepared Barber Saab cars are ready to take the green flag. We'll be right back. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Barber Saab Pro Series from Lime Rock Park is brought to you by Saab. We don't make compromises, we make Saabs. By Quaker State, the Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Bud Light, everything else is just a light. Back at Lime Rock Park, awaiting the start of round 4 of the Barber Saab Pro Series for 1991. Here's the starting grid. On the pole for the 3rd time in 4 races, Johnny Robinson of England. Next is 2nd-generation racer Briggs Phillips of Waitsfield, Vermont. Brian High-Speed Herta from Los Angeles will be on row 2. Next to Swede Robert Amron fighting a case of the flu. Todd Snyder and 2nd-generation racer Paige Jones on row 3. On 4, David Pook and Leo Parente. Row 5, Mark Tremblay and Ross Huckenhull, the vastly experienced Englishman. Barry Waddell and Bob Reed on row 6. On 7, Ian Ashley and Buzz Calkins. Stan Potter and Kurt Kosman of Massachusetts on row 8. Row 9, Paul Quinn and Alex Padilla with our onboard camera today. And all alone on row 10, Todd Williams of Rogers, Arkansas. Robinson looking for his 4th straight victory in 1991. He qualified at a record speed of over 100 miles an hour. In fact, the top 3 cars, all under the course record. Our BMW pace car is off. We're ready to go racing, and we've got a scramble at the start-finish line. Your pole sitter, Johnny Robinson, leads them down to the 1st turn. But we have cars all over the racetrack, and dust is kicked up on the inside.
They all see the scrapes in the beginning part of Big Bend. That's one of the best places for overtaking here, and of course you can't beat the 1st lap for it, but no race is ever won on the 1st lap. But our Johnny Robinson still maintains that lead, and up in the 2nd spot now is Robert Amron on the pole for the 1st race back to West Palm Beach.
We need to reiterate, this is a very bumpy and very narrow racetrack, and when you're driving an open-wheeled car with no fenders to use to lean on your opposition, you must be very careful.
Ooh, a lot of duck to Amron going wide there.
Actually, that's Brian High-Speed Herta in the 2nd place car, that white machine with the red trim. So it is Robinson, followed by Herta. Briggs Phillips drop back to the number 3 stop. Phillips has been an infrequent visitor to the series thus far in 1991. He's a member of the U.S. ski team. As you see Brian Herta flashing across the finish line, he was the pole sitter for this race a year ago.
They call him High Speed out of Los Angeles.
There is Robert Amron in the number 70 blue machine. Amron, as I mentioned, fighting a case of flu all weekend. He's been unable to take food or drink for a couple of days. In fact, he only made the final qualifying session, his first look at the racetrack this weekend. Not bad to get up into the 4 slot.
And of course, he comes from Sweden, so pretty international field represented out there. Englishman leading it. Swede up there near the front.
I believe that's Paige Jones moving up on Amron's rear wing. Remember, these are all identically prepared cars. They are turbocharged, and we got to move. That is Robert Amron in the blue number 70 going right by Briggs Phillips. Getting right up there. Briggs took a look to the outside coming through that chicane. It's not there. They're nose to tail off that diving turn, bottoming out at the bottom of that steep hill.
You can see how those cars bounce around as they hit the bottom of that hill. It's extremely bumpy. They're weaving, ducking and diving, all trying to make the most of the slipstream or draft down this front straight to try and outbrake each other into turn 1.
Oh, Paige Jones looked at the outside, but there's not enough room to do that here. Close racing going through Big Bend. We've got a problem on the racetrack here at Lime Rock. Is that the 22 machine of Paul Quinn out of Hampshire, England? Stopped momentarily down in the Big Bend area there. He's going once again. He looks all right.
Looks okay now, doesn't it? I don't know if he just spun off and went.
Well, he is in danger now of falling into the clutches of our overall race leader, Johnny Robinson, who, as he has in the 3 previous races this year, is slowly motoring away from the field. Let's take another look at what happened right there. Oh,
yeah.
That's how it came to a stop, by going backwards on the racetrack. And that'll happen down there in Big Bend. It's a very long right-hand corner with a lot of centrifugal force. And well, we got a car off the racetrack. That is down in the S's area leading out of the back straight. Car number 4 is Ian Ashley, the Englishman who's driven Formula 1 and Indy cars. An odd misstep from a veteran.
Well, they used to call him, when I raced against him 20 years ago, they used to call him Crashly Ashley, so maybe it wasn't quite so a character after all. Sorry about that, Ian, but there it is. These things will come out. These dark and dirty secrets.
Oh, we've got a problem. Your overall race leader, Johnny Robinson, is making his way to the pits. And that will throw this race wide open. There is your new leader. Brian High Speed Herta has taken over from this man by default. Big problem in the pits, and Johnny Robinson's going to get out. It must be something terminal. Oh, my, what a break for this guy, Brian High Speed Herta. They call him that. He came out and took the pole here a year ago at Lime Rock in only his 5th race in these cars. A great young talent, maybe with a few rough edges here and there. He's been known to get a little bit close to the barriers.
Because he's only 21 years old, so he can give poor old Johnny Robinson quite a few years yet. So Brian is very, very young. And in fact, all these front runners at the moment are incredibly young.
Brian Herta in 4th place in series points coming in after 3 races. He has a 2nd and a 4th in the 2 most recent rounds at Miami and at Road Atlanta down in Georgia. But he finished 21st after tangling with a slower car in the season opener at West Palm Beach, Florida, seen here on ESPN. And that really set him back a little bit. He's 4th, but now he's in a position to move up. Let's get down to the pits now and learn more about Johnny Robinson with Jan Bikas.
Johnny, you must just feel terrible. What happened?
I don't know. I thought I missed a gear coming out of the chicane, going from 2nd to 3rd, and fished for another gear, and there's just no drive at all. The drive just went completely. It felt like the clutch just gave out. It just exploded. Nothing I could do. That's it. Finished.
I know it's very rare on these cars and so on. You seem to be taking it really well. You know, you'll be back, and we're all rooting for you to take that 4th win. But, you know, we'll just hope you do the best, and back up to you guys, Bob.
All right, tough break for Johnny Robinson as Brian Herta makes his way around. He has a gap of several car lengths over Robert Amron. We'll be right back to Lime Rock Park. We are back at Lime Rock with a look in the mirrors to his left. You see the white number 1 of Brian Herta, and there is the gap. Some 3.9 seconds in the space of just 1 lap. This man, Robert Amron, despite a case of the flu, has closed up almost 3 seconds on Brian Herta.
Well, of course, Brian Herta's starting to get amongst the lap traffic now, so that might have upset him just a little bit somewhere.
Down no name straight he goes. Heading for that sharp uphill right-hander. Now here is the battle between number 77, Briggs Phillips, and 16, Todd Snyder. This one's been going on all day.
Just a few moments ago, they had David Pook with them in the yellow, number 78. Snyder there putting a wheel just off the edge on the entry to a no-name straight. But we seem to have lost David Pook temporarily. He's disappeared from this little group. It was a pretty hot and furious group as they went down the front straight here.
Ooh, a look back in the mirror, though. Problem for Briggs Phillips. He is slow out of that chicane, and he is driving Todd Snyder crazy trying to get by. That's the same part of the racetrack where our race leader and overall series points leader, Johnny Robinson, had a problem. He stripped the gearbox, and he is now out of the race. So your order is Brian Herta, Robert Amron, Paige Jones, Briggs Phillips.
Using that slipstream there, coming down the inside to turn one as he pulls it off.
Give credit to both guys in any racing situation like that. The guy getting past has to know when to give up the corner.
He absolutely has to know when he's absolutely beaten. There's no point trying to make an issue of it when he's too late. Shutting the door is one thing. Slamming the door on the guy's nose doesn't do anybody good.
Now here is our onboard camera, the Spencer Douglas Ranger Insurance onboard on the car of Alex Padilla out of Sacramento, California, who started way back on row 9, the number 18 slot. Haze affecting our uplink to the helicopter overhead that relays the signal down. Up and over the rise they come. There is the number 14 of Alex Padilla from the outside. He is closing up on Bob Reed, who is going backwards through the field. Reed started up in the number 12 position. He is now running well back. Alex Padilla is an interesting guy. A second-year student in business management at Cal State Sacramento, owns his own business, which happens to be the largest bail bond agency in the United States.
There you see David Pook making a run back through the field.
Well, we got a spinner. Off on the inside. Pook was just going around. I think that's Buzz Calkins. Is that the number 92? It is. Buzz Calkins.
Old turbo flame coming out the back of the Saab engine there. 2-liter, over 200 horsepower. These are pretty powerful little race cars. Taking the shortcut. No, going to drive out in front of that red car. Ooh, over that curve. But these are pretty sturdy cars, too.
David Pook, after whatever problem set him back, now trying to make his way back into the top 10. As you watch Buzz Calkins from Denver, Colorado, make his way around. He had a little trouble coming to grips with this course as well. He started 14th. Many of these drivers seeing Lime Rock for the first time, and it is a very difficult course to get down early.
It's kind of like an oval with a left-hand kink thrown in. It's the corners here are all long, and they're all right-handers, as you can see from the chicane there, which is a quick little flick. You've got a long right-hander here, under the bridge, then another very long right-hander, and a downhill one at that. Now we have the main straightaway where these cars reach their maximum speed, which in this case is about 145, 150 miles an hour. Very bumpy. And then more right-handers. So it is like a sort of huge oval. Brian Herta goes to the inside here. I don't know whether he thinks it's less bumpy or whether he's trying to shake off Robert Amron from his draft. Probably a bit of both.
Amron closing up now. The gap less than 3 seconds from first to second. Brian Herta in the white-red number 1. Dirt tracking that car through the corner. A lot of the guys seem to have set their cars up very loose for the racetrack today. We asked Brian Herta before the weekend began if he'd have to win a championship before he'd move on from Barber Saab.
No, we looked at this as a 2-year program with Barber Saab, and this is my 2nd year. If we don't win the championship for whatever reason, that doesn't necessarily mean I won't move up. It's going to be where the opportunity lies. I feel like the way things have been going, that if things happen the right way for me, I could win the championship. And so then maybe it is time to move on and take the next step.
He is a great young talent, a lot of fun to watch. I think Brian Herta's got a big future in this sport, as does this guy. Very different story for Robert Amron from Järna, Sweden. Amron is 22 years of age, but he has many years of Formula 3 racing in Europe under his belt. Very experienced racer, as a lot of European racers are. They start very, very young, and they wind up spending a lot of money at a very early age. A lot of them drop out as a result.
Well, racing, unfortunately, the name of the game these days is money, and it's very expensive. This is one of the most cost-effective series that you can possibly do. But even this, of course, is not cheap. Amron using the curve there to full advantage, but he's making up a lot of ground. Got that 6th car in front of him now.
That's Stan Potter he's about to lap.
Stan Potter keeping well out of the way there as they go down to the diving turn. Bottoming out.
Television doesn't really do it justice. That is a very steep hill, and the driver has to really keep his composure. You can see the dirt in the background there. You put a wheel off at that corner, and you are in trouble.
And it's not very far from the black top to the black tires leaning on the guardrail, I can tell you that.
Whoa. Overcooked the first corner, did Robert Amren, and that's going to cost him.
Because that's let Stan Potter get back in front. Oh, another car spun here.
92. That's Buzz Calkins again. That's his second loop. He's down in the S's area now, as you see Robert Amren rocketing through. Amren with a second, a third, and a third in the first 3 races thus far this season. He also had a pole position in the season opener at West Palm Beach.
Of course, this if Robert Amren should win this race, if Brian Herter should win this race, that'll jump him into a close third, right behind Robert Amren.
The points coming in show Robinson, Amren, Page, Jones, Brian Herta, and David Pook, the top 5. But that is definitely going to see some shuffling. As the day wears on, we'll take a quick timeout and return to the Barber Saab Pro Series at Lime Rock. Back at Lime Rock in the closing moments of round 4 of the Barber Saab Pro Series for 1991. There you see the overall race leader, the #1 machine of Brian Herta from Los Angeles, California, who took over from early leader Johnny Robinson when Robinson suffered mechanical difficulties and has led the rest of the way. In second position is Robert Amren from Sweden, fighting off the effects of the flu this weekend, doing a great job.
But has now dropped the entire length of the main straightaway from Brian Herta. Page Jones in 21 is a good few seconds behind Amren, and I don't think will be in a chance to challenge him. There you see Brian Herta swinging onto the no-name straight, using every inch of road still. I mean, the guy is driving fast. Very difficult in a situation like this. You don't want to relax too much, because if you relax, you know, you've got a good lead, but if you relax too much, this guy will be on you like a cheap suit in absolutely no time.
And there is a look from the Spencer Douglas Ranger Insurance onboard camera on the car of Alex Padilla from Sacramento, California.
There you see Ross Huckenhull, number 10.
And right behind him is Mark Tremblay in the dark number 36 car. This is the battle for 8th place and the closest fight we can find on the racetrack right now.
Ross Huckenhull, probably the most experienced driver in this race. He's done very extensive Formula Ford, Formula 3, and Formula 3000. One of those guys who sort of kind of missed a few steps on the way to the top. At one stage, it looked like Ross Huckenhull was going to be in Formula 1 in no time. And unfortunately, he's running at a bit of a plateau now. Came over to the Barber Saab Series, and it's an indication of just how tough this series is when you see him struggling around back there in 8th spot.
And just 26 years of age, Ross Huckenhull trying to pull that career back together here in the United States.
I mean, he's been racing for a long time.
Mark Tremblay from Huntington, New York, who won a race in Skip Barber's Formula Ford Series at Lime Rock. He started 9th overall, finds himself running in that position right now. So this has been a very eventful day thus far for Mark. There is your leader working traffic now. And this is where Brian Herta has to be very, very careful with just a couple of laps to go in this race. Right now, he's got a big lead over second place Robert Amren. He just has to keep the car safe and get it home.
I guess the 2 big losers today are Johnny Robinson, who had mechanical problems, and David Pook, who started off in a good spot. He started off in 7th, and now he's dropped back to 10th. So he had a very good afternoon.
As you can see, a lot of the cars still on the lead lap. We had 19 cars finish the race. The 1 car of Johnny Robinson is out. So of the 18 remaining, 14 are still on the lead lap. Very closely controlled engineering in these Barber Saab race cars. 225 horsepower, and they can really give you a thrill.
If Robert Amren finishes second in this race this afternoon, which it looks at the moment as if he will, behind this guy here, number 1, Brian Herta. If Amren finishes second, that's going to put him within 7 points of our current champion.
And as the season wears on, it should be an exciting title fight over that $100,000 Career Enhancement Award. The overall series purse has been raised this year to nearly $600,000, over $41,000 each race. And we are on the final lap. Brian Herta en route to what will be his first victory of the 1991 season, and that will help make up for the disappointment of his season opener at West Palm Beach. A real star of the future through the long west bend atop the hill here at Lime Rock. And then one more turn ahead of him, the diving turn onto the front straightaway where the checkered flag awaits. So to celebrate his 21st birthday, albeit about 10 days after the fact, Brian High Speed Herta becomes the second different winner in the 1991 Barber Saab Series. And I wish I could have gotten a little cooperation from my flagman. I thought we were going to get a checkered flag.
Well, we thought we were going to get the flag, but the flagman didn't think so.
Now we're being told that this is a timed race, and Brian Herta was a little too high speed for the day. He got there before the time elapsed, so he's going to have to make one more lap.
Yeah, a bit disturbing. It'd be nice if something goes wrong now, wouldn't it? On this lap, you'd be pretty ticked off.
Absolutely. That has really got to shake you up a little bit. Good thing he's not like some of the Formula One drivers we know who loosen their belts as soon as they cross the start-finish line. So let's call it a premature victory lap for Brian Herta.
Or a fast victory lap.
Right. And if the checkered flag doesn't wave this time around, I'm going to go talk to this flag man. Jim Sibley from IMSA waves the checkered flag, and the hands go in the air for a very happy Brian Herta. A lot of vindication with his first victory of 1991 here on a very difficult day at a very difficult racetrack, Lime Rock Park. Your overall winner is Herta, unofficially followed by Robert Amron, Paige Jones, Todd Snyder, and Briggs Phillips in the top 5 in what has been a very entertaining race. Cowabunga, dude. Congratulations to Brian Herta.
Our man Alex Padilla nearly.
We'll be back to meet our overall winner and hear what he has to say about his first victory of 1991 when we return to Lime Rock. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Barber Saab Pro Series from Lime Rock Park has been brought to you by Saab. We don't make compromises, we make Saabs. By the U.S. Army and Army Reserve. Be all you can be. And by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. Our winner in the Barber Saab Pro Series has made his way to victory lane where he's standing by with Jan Beekes.
Brian Herta, great drive. Just great job out there. You pretty much had it your own way once Robinson had problems.
All right, I was pushing really hard at the beginning when I was behind Johnny, and my tires started going off. It's unfortunate what happened to him, but it really opened the way for me to take it easy the rest of the race and keep the tires cool and not make any big mistakes.
You look really excited, though. You had both hands off the wheel as you crossed the line. It's your first victory. You got to feel great.
Oh, it's fantastic. I've dreamed about this since I was probably 5 or 6 years old. I can't even describe the feeling I have right now. It's excellent.
We'll give you a look at final results of the 4th round of the Barber Saab Pro Series for 1991. A $10,000 prize coming Brian Herta's way. We thank you for being with us. For David Hobbs and Jan Beekes, I'm Bob Varsha. So long from Lime Rock Park.